Back in the day, we dominated the IGAD region, we dominated the East Africa region. We were an important player in global stage. Now, because of weak security and weak economy, our capacity has diminished. And the third and most important element, and another important element that we really don't talk about it, is how our diplomatic engagement changed under Abiy. How? One, there was a quiet but visible shift of diplomatic work from Ministry of Foreign Affairs to the Prime Minister's office from the day Abiy arrived. This is a conversation I don't want to mention, but there are people who were there. We debated, we discussed about this issue. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs became just symbolic. It became irrelevant. In today's Ethiopia, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is the least sought out of post. Nobody wants it because there is just no job. Because much of the work is done from the Prime Minister's office. One. Second, under Abiy, there is just no foreign policy. There is no written, deliberated, discussed, and well-prepared foreign policy. The diplomats are called home once a year for orientation, for training. But you know what they do? They get lectures, PowerPoint lectures on Myanmar, and they are taken around to see these flash projects.
I like to add one element that we often discuss about is which is that, you know, as media, we sometimes go into looking at the social media influencers that are the pro-government social media influencers to understand what exactly is happening in the foreign policy area of the country. I think the most visible example was the first letter written by Foreign Minister Gideon Timotheus to the UN, complaining about the Eritrean government's alleged support to rebels in the country, to the Fano, or its alleged relationship with the TPLF in the Tigray region. There was that letter, and a lot of journalists heard about it. Nobody could confirm that letter, and then we saw that letter being circulated among the social media influencers. I was joking about it at that time, but it's a serious thing that we need to reflect on that. And I was saying, since when have we outsourced our foreign policy to social media influencers? I think that is also another aspect that we are not often discussing about it in public.
Let me give you one thing on this one, because you reminded me. Remember when the Memorandum of Understanding with Somaliland was announced?
Yeah.
The foreign minister was not aware. He was inaugurating some health center somewhere. And I was talking to a very senior diplomat at that point. And I asked him, what is this? And he did not hear about it. And he asked his foreign ministry. He was told to wait because the foreign ministry was not aware about it. This is an important foreign policy decision, a consequential foreign policy decision. The ministers and the most senior diplomats posted at the most critical countries and institutions around the world were totally oblivious about it. Then when their host countries asked them, they had to scramble. For weeks, they did not have an answer. And I think you remember how the spokesman for foreign ministry was blubbering when he was asked by the diplomats in Addis. So, as I said earlier, the work of the foreign ministry was taken to prime minister. Second, the diplomats are left in oblivious. They don't have a policy guidance. They don't have weekly updates. They don't have directions. And third, most important is Abiy personality. He took the work of diplomacy from foreign ministry to his office and he personalized it. Even meeting with foreign heads of state are conducted by himself. That's what the consequence is. He butted head with many of the regional and international leaders. I don't want to mention names. I cannot count, 2-3 world leaders who have, or regional leaders at least, who have a healthy relationship with him because he has offended them on individual capacity. And so our diplomacy has been in shambles, and this is visible. When we got into the Somaliland issue, Somalia defeated Ethiopia hands down. It was able to galvanize regional powers. It was able to galvanize international organizations. It was able to galvanize rival global powers from China to US. They all.
I think maybe he admitted in a recent interview, the former president of Somaliland, how the diplomatic pressure played a significant role in terms of, I think, hindering the memorandum of understanding's implementation. One could make one-on-one, two and two together there to agree with your analysis to that end of the weakening of our foreign policy. I would love to have more, foreign policy experts to discuss further about this, because we would really need to, unpack these dynamics as we go forward. You are cautioning against all these odds stocked against Ethiopia: a collapsing economy, a demoralized population, military that is not in a cohesive and strong position. These aspects, and a diplomacy that is not in favor of Ethiopia. Assume all these cautions that you are sending out, telegraphing at the moment, cannot be heeded by the powers that be in Addis Ababa, and a war breaks out. What happens then? You warned that the consequences are going to be dire, and you have a pretty stark warning about the possibility of a military collapse, the collapse of the military, the economy, and all this. Outline in a short, as we go into the conclusion of our conversation, what would be the outcome if we don't heed the warning signals, the messages that are written all over the walls? What would be the scenario?
There is still a slim chance to avert the war. I would like to be on that side, on cautiously optimistic side. But also I want to say to the diplomatic community, do not listen to what Asmara, Makale, and Addis tell you when it comes to this war. We know our people. We have entered a serious security dilemma where Abiy has created a scenario, a situation. He has threatened, he has securitized the relationship between Ethiopia and Eritrea, between Ethiopia and the federal government and Tigray. The issue has been framed as an existential issue right now. There is significant mobilization of force on the Eritrean side, on the Tigrayan side, and also on other rebel side. Putting back the sword is not going to be an easy for these forces, because now their calculation is, even if he backs down now, not because he doesn't want to materialize his threat, it is because he is not ready. Tomorrow he will be more prepared. He's going to hit us. So therefore, let's go after him before he gets fully prepared. And also, the situation right now is like a dry grassland. Any small match can fire it. The level of mobilization, the level of militarization of rhetoric as well as ground forces is quite significant. So we should be very careful not to buy into what the diplomats and some of the talking heads say. So there is the risk of war is extremely high, but there is still chance with a proper and timely intervention with regional as well as international players with a significant leverage they have to guarantee that there will be no future wars for those who are threatened. What will be the consequence? It will be the kind of war, the kind of damage, and the kind of destruction we have not seen. We have been in war for the last 70, 80 years. The Eritrean war, the internal Ethiopian war. This will be the war of all wars. One because it will be an Ethiopian internal war. When the army leaves Oromia and Amhara, these areas that are already maybe 60-70% outside the government control, the rebels are waiting, they will materialize with this. There's no question. OLA has moved much of its forces from the western, southern frontiers with 150 kilometers of Addis. Much of its forces is now situated in that area. I believe they are waiting for opportune moment. The Fano forces have been growing in strength. When ANDF leaves for the war, I think the Ethiopia's domestic situation, internal situation, as far as the civil war is concerned, will be, worsened. It will be exacerbated. The issue with Tigray will be complicated. The human cost will be extremely high. That destruction of Eritrea also will not be much worse than 1998 and 2000. The fact that he does not have dependable ground force makes it even more dangerous, because he is going to heavily rely on air bombardment, not only through drones but also through the air force. That destruction will not be, it'll be quite unimaginable. Then what we are going to have is really an extended war frontier that extended from Libya all the way to Somalia. And the human wave, the refugees and the destruction, I don't want to even talk about it. So that's why even if we have a slim chance, we must work to end war, to avert the war. Second, Ethiopians need to go into soul searching. I am convinced that having spent, last 7 years closely, sometimes supporting, sometimes opposing Abiy and his ruling group, as long as Abiy is at the helm of Ethiopian government, war and destruction will continue. Abiy does not have the mindset of governance. He does not have the mindset of stability. Because he does not have a policy, he does not have a program, he does not have a plan for any development project, he will continue to manufacture conflict, initially as a way of diverting attention from certain economic and social problems that will eventually evolve into war. So, one, we must work to avert war with Eritrea and with Tigray as well. Two, we really need to make sure that we work for post-Abiy Ethiopia, and while he's in power, we need to limit his ability to engulf us in another war. And second, we have to shorten his reign. As long as he's around, as long as he's at the helm of such a large country, he will continue to plunge us with our neighbors and also with domestic actors. So we have to work on these areas.
Yeah. Well, I guess if your dagger is drawn, it is going to definitely invite danger, and there has to be enough coalition, anti-war coalition, which sadly I do not see at the moment, but I hope and wish that diplomatic efforts bear fruit to reverse us back from the cliff. I must say, Jawar Mohammed, thank you very much for coming to the second episode of the Standard Signal. I do hope you will be a guest again on a different topic, particularly in the last topic you raised on how to mobilize enough coalition for peace works around that area. I'd like to discuss more on that, and I hope you will have the time to come back